Hey. I'm Bergeron, and I'm getting ready for a show. I'm doing a show at the Sifton Cook Heritage Center, also known as the Coburg Museum. I've been the artist in residence there for the entire summer 2019, and I'm getting ready to do a show there. And the show is going to be outside. And so to do a show outside, you need easels. So I asked some of the members of my students and other other people in the community if they could lend me an easel, and this is what I got. I got an easel convention. Not only all those ones standing up, but there's, I don't know if you can see through there, but there's a whole bunch on the floor over there too. So thanks to everybody who lent me an easel. I really do appreciate it. So I thought I would talk a little bit today about, what it takes to do an art show. First of all, you have to have a body of work. And I've been doing this same body of work for about 6 weeks, which is a pretty short time for me. But I've done, quite a few finished works. I'll show you some of them. But I've done quite a few finished works. I've also done about 30 sketches, maybe more than 30 sketches. And so one of the things that I really have to say that you have to do an art show is you have to have a large, consistent body of work. And that's to approach a gallery or to do a show on yourself, do a show by yourself. So from the guy who doesn't sell too much work, I actually sell almost no work, to be perfectly honest. From the guy who sells almost no work, don't do custom framing. Let your client frame it in whatever color and whatever mat it is that they want to use. Frame the stuff yourself. Buy some mats or buy some frames that are reusable. You can get good frames and mats for $50, $60, $70 in 11 by 14. And they look just as good, to tell you the truth. And it allows you to switch out your painting. So if you're doing it in your studio, you could switch out stuff every month. You could switch out stuff when you get a new body of work, whatever it might be. Don't fall into custom framing unless your client really specifically asks for it, okay? So don't fall into that. So when I'm getting ready for a show, my studio quite often looks like this. Like maybe we're robbed. Yeah, I still got paints out. I shouldn't have those out. I'm trying to frame stuff, so I probably shouldn't have paints out. Here's some frames and some matting that I was going to use. Of course, I have all these easels. I have my light here, and this is a drawing that I'm framing. And of course, because I'm framing it, I have Windex and paper towels, a screwdriver out to open up the back. Yeah, and then I got a whole bunch of garbage here. I got some wrapping material to keep your stuff safe while you're transporting it, sort of very important. And I got some more stuff framed. Got some more easels. Got some more work over here. I'm also adding some students' work to some of the stuff that I'm doing here. Yeah, this one's kind of interesting. This one is like an assemblage cutout kind of a piece. I'll show you a better picture of that without the glare. But yeah, I'm getting ready. So I just got to fix a couple more of these easels and I'm ready to go. So to put together a show in a very short period of time, one of my recommendations would be that you work in standard sizes. Okay, and it also gives the body of work some consistency. So the standard size that I chose for this particular show was 11 by 14. And for a couple of reasons I chose 11 by 14. But mostly I chose 11 by 14 because it's a very It's big, but it's not overwhelmingly big. It doesn't look rinky-dink when it's on a wall, so it's not tiny. But you can also mat it to make it look much larger. Like this particular work looks much larger. Like this work now looks like it's, I believe, 24 by 18 because of the mat and the frame around it. The other thing that you want to consider is cost. So if you're doing the show yourself, there's 9 works in this show. So if you had 9 works and you went and got them custom framed, you would be talking about $150 to $200 each. And times 9 works, I mean, you're talking about $1,800, and that's just for the framing, and you haven't sold anything. So another thing to worry about when you're doing a show is transporting your work there. And this is some material that I got. It's packing material, actually, and it came from some cabinets that I bought. But this stuff is awesome for packing art. So how I generally do it is I just lay my piece of art face down. I just lay my piece of art face down on that, and then just fold these up and wrap and put a piece of masking tape to hold that on. But you really need to worry about it. So you see I have another piece down here. And again, take it from the guy who's done a lot of shows and had to move stuff all over the place. You can use blankets and towels, you can use containers. You just have to be careful. You just have to wrap them up really good. And wrap them up so they're not gonna get chipped and dented, and your glass isn't gonna get broke, and your hangers aren't gonna get smashed on the back. Just be really careful when you're moving your stuff. Okay, so once you have all your stuff packed, you know where it is that you're going to have your show, you need to get it all into your vehicle. And my personal preference is that I get somebody to help me to set up my show. That's not always possible. Sometimes you have to do it yourself. So a lot of planning for me goes into how is it I'm going to get everything there. In this particular show that I was doing at the Sift and Cook Heritage Center, it posed a lot of problems because I was going to be outside. So how do I get my stuff, how do I show my stuff? So I didn't have enough easels to do it. So I asked people and they gave me easels, and that's how I was able to set up the show. But you really need to think about that. How is it I'm going to transport my stuff? Do I have a big enough vehicle? Do I need to borrow a vehicle? Can I get somebody to help me? So those kinds of decisions, weeks ahead of time will certainly help you when it comes time to actually set up your show. So here we are, we're actually unloading the car at the place where I'm going to have my show. And you can see I have some other helpers there, and we're getting all of the work out of the car, and I'm setting up some of the easels. I had already thought of a very specific way that I wanted things set up. I knew an order that I wanted the works to go in. So I had all that sort of pre-planned in my head. And you'll see here, it's a very bright sunny afternoon that we are setting this up on. And I knew I only had a very short period to set it up, and I knew I had to work fairly quickly to get it set up. Now, once I had this all arranged the way that I wanted it to be, I left and I went home and I had dinner and I picked up my family, and of course it started to rain. So I wasn't there when it started to rain. The people who work at the museum were there, and they quickly picked up everything and moved it inside. But I had thought it was going to be, a bright sunny day like this for us to have this show, and it turned out not to be. But I want to emphasize the planning aspect here. I want to emphasize that I had a backup location. I could move all of these things into the museum if I had to. I could have the entire show inside if need be. And it did need to be that it was all moved inside. Okay, so I really want to emphasize the amount of planning that needs to go in. Not just the amount of work that you're going to do, how it is you're going to display that work, where it is you're going to display that work, how it is you're going to get people there. I mean, that's another thing that I haven't really talked about in this particular video, but the marketing. I started actually marketing this show before I started to work on the materials. So I started actually doing Instagram posts. Oh, I'm having a show on August the 15th at 5:30 p.m. So I started that, and I used Facebook. I used other people's email list. I used my email list. I contacted local arts organizations and I said, hey, I'm having this show. Would you send this out to your members? These are some of the works. This is student work. Some of my work is mixed in there. And here is the show. So here's me and one of my students, Robbie, looking at some work. And here's some other people, you know, going around and looking at the exhibits and looking at the artwork at the same time. And I think that's the attraction here. I think the attraction is it wasn't just my work. It was also everything that was happening inside the museum. So I was really, really thankful. We had a lot of people come out. And I mean, a lot of people that I did not know, and that was really surprising. I had a lot of students. I had a lot of former people that I had worked with at different galleries and different organizations come out. And people were interested in what I did and they wanted to hear from me. So I was explaining a lot of different things to people. I really did appreciate this entire experience. I want to give a big thank you to everyone who works at the Sifton Cook Heritage Center. You really made my summer. I thank you very much. And I thank you for watching my video. Without my subscribers and people interested in what it is that I do, this wouldn't go very far. So thank you very much. If you're currently a subscriber, thanks for putting up with me. If you're not currently a subscriber, please consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks to my friends, my family, my students, co-workers, everybody else. Thanks for watching.